Greetings and welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Bubble and you're fantastic. Today we're going to be going over all of the multicolored, colorless, and land cards in Innistrad Crimson Vow. In the back there you have the lovely Voldaren Escape, where we've all been invited to enjoy the last review video that I'm going to put out right now. And hopefully I can get it done in under an hour. Yes, I apologize for the rest of them. I'm a little rusty. Yeah, fair enough. So, without any more preamble, let us get on to the actual amble. And does that even work? Here we go. Ancient Lumberknot is a 4-mana 1/4. Let's see, it costs green and black. Tree Folk. Each creature controls toughness greater than its power. Assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. It is nice that it does not hurt you at all if you do not fulfill the requirement. And it also doesn't change the power on the card. It doesn't change the printing. It only affects the damage you deal in combat. So if it's like destroy target creature with power 4 or more, I think there's a white card there, it will not give that card more targets. Like, you can't use that on this thing because it just doesn't have that power. So that's pretty cool. And this is essentially a 4-mana 4/4, which is good with upside. Yeah, totally. Limited, I am not upset with this at all. 3 out of 5. The dream is that you get this with the frickin' phalanx and you have a 13/13. Yeah, if you do, take a picture. Send it to me, put it in my Discord, and I will bake you a cookie. I don't know if I'm gonna send it to you, probably not, but I'll bake it to you, and I will eat it with fond memories. So, yeah, in standard, I don't think this is gonna be a deck. No, that's kind of neat. I don't think it's gonna be a deck. So no. Okay, here's a card. Now, just a little point here to make. I once upon a time, I read a Twitter thing. I don't know, feed or chain. Blockchain, no, that discussed the previous version of this character, and they said, what is the correct pronunciation, as I can't say words already, of her name? And they came to the consensus that based on the region that they should be from, which I forget exactly what it is, it should be Anya. Regardless of that, the Magic community has taken to calling her Angie, which I probably will call her multiple times when I stream on Twitch, link below. Anyway, so there you go. And anyone that calls her Angie, fine. I'm not upset. Just wanted to share some knowledge, which is kind of the whole point of this video, right? So, Anya, Maid of Dishonor. Damn, yeah, wow, that's a hell of a title. Is a 4-mana 4/5 vampire, legendary vampire. When she or one or more other vampires enter the battlefield under your control, create a blood token. So ETB, make a blood token. Other things, make a blood token. Ability triggers only once each turn. You can pay 2 and sacrifice another creature or a blood token. And each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. I love that they kind of added a little blood token thing there, but you don't have to have blood tokens. You don't need them. Obviously, you're going to get them when Anya enters the battlefield or another vampire or whatever, but you don't have to do that in order to use the effect. That is fantastic. I guess that's why she's legendary. Who knows? In limited, yeah, this card's fantastic. 5-mana 4/5 that makes the thing, has some other upsides. Great card. Easily a 3.5, 4 out of 5 even. And the fact that you gain life also is good because there's also life gain synergies in the set. So really, really nice. Also, blood tokens, they're okay. They're not great, but if you just happen to get them by playing your deck, then there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, 4 out of 5 there, I'd say. Especially if you have other vampires. In standard, you know what? No. I don't like you in standard. Worth... I always say worth noting, and you know what? Take notes. The current cards that we have, like, there's the Painter. I forget what it's called, but it's a legendary thing. And then, of course, Skullport Merchant. Treasure tokens are worth a hell of a lot more than blood tokens, okay? So, this is, not quite that level. If this made treasure tokens, oh my god, now we're talking. It doesn't. So, that's why it's not super great. But you know what? Maybe like a 2 out of 5 in standard. It's still kind of neat. Still not a bad vampire. Blood Tithe Harvester is a black-red vampire. Specific, just pay a black and a red. 2 mana, that's it. For a 3/2, ETB, make a blood token, and you can tap sack it. Target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is twice the number of blood tokens you control. Activate only as a sorcery. So The tricky thing with these in Limited is you need to get both of your colors, or you need to get 2 different colored mana available to you on turn 2 to play this on curve. Otherwise, it's going to be a little tricky. You don't have to. You can play it later on. And it actually does get some more value later on because you might have more blood tokens and you can kill more things. It also doesn't use up your blood tokens. It just uses up the creature. But it's nice that it keeps the other resource around. So yeah, 2 mana 3/2 with upside. Even if you don't sack it later on, it's okay there. And if you have to hold on to it for a few turns, and maybe you use those turns to make more blood tokens and then you play it, it's cool. It's removal in a creature. I don't hate it at all. I'm going to say 3.5 out of 5, but just 3.5. Yeah, just 3.5 either way. Even if you have a good amount of blood tokens, it's still 3.5. In Standard, I think you could probably see 1 or 2 of these in a Rakdos aggro deck, just as, like, I need to remove this creature that's in my way. Just going to tap this. Especially because there's no mana investment in that. You just tap the creature. You could say that playing it's an investment, but if you don't need to remove the thing, then you have a 3/2 for 2, which is good. So, yeah, this is absolutely a card that we should see in a Rakdos aggro if that's possible. If it's Orzhov aggro or if it's Mono Red aggro, then unfortunately no. Then there might not be a deck for this, but Rakdos, which is usually an aggressive thing, I'm looking at you, big old, Sky Demon, hell of a party kind of thing. Yeah, I'll see this guy. Brine Comer. Is that the comb? Yeah, I guess that's a comb. I don't know. Why not? Comb the brine! That's what I'm going to do to the turkey later on. I'm going to comb the brine turkey. Sorry. 3 mana 1/1 spirit. Whenever it enters the battlefield or becomes the target of an aura spell, you make a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Cool. That's fine. There are plenty of auras around here with the whole disturb thing, Spirits with disturb that become auras or just auras in general. And this is obviously going to be a premier target, and it's uncommon. It's not legendary. Awesome Azorius thing here. Disturb for a white and a blue. You get the Brine-bound gift, which, let's see, what do you do here? Whenever this enters the battlefield or enchanted creature becomes a target, yeah. So, similar thing. You enchant this on a creature, it makes a 1/1, and whenever that creature becomes a target later on, it makes more 1/1s. It's not a hard once per turn like a few other things, so that's pretty nice. But super reasonable card. If you already have a few spirits or just any kind of other disturb things, this is great to throw in there. Any kind of discard, go ahead. It's not, you'd rather probably discard this thing, because I'm still reading this now as a 3 mana 1/1, and now I'm starting to think, you know what, it's not that great. 2 out of 5 in Limited. 0 to 5 Standard, but 2 out of 5 Limited. Because it gives you more tokens to put more things on. Child of the Pack. Oh, we're in Gruul now. 2, a red and a green for a 2/5. And you can pay, again, 2, a red and a green, to make a 2/2 wolf token. That's a green token, for what it's worth. That's cool. And the Nightbound side is a 5/5 Trampler. And other creatures you control get +1/+0. So 4 mana, spit out tokens when you can, and then when you can't spit them out anymore, you just have a 5/5. Which isn't bad. Does not buff itself, but isn't too bad. Yeah, easy include in any sort of red-green deck. You open this, I think you're playing as many of these as you get. Literally as many as you get. If I have 7 of these cards, that's not possible. If I get 6 of these cards, I get 1 in every pack and sealed. Or if I get, 3 of them, whatever, and, limited, no, you would still have 6 packs, wouldn't you? Whatever it is, you get the point. I would actually play as many of these as I could, because it only costs 1 each red-green, plus the 2 generic mana. It's pretty easy to cast if you're in those colors. And you can spit out. Yeah, it's a legit card. Standard, I don't think it's going to see any play. But in Limited, it's a really solid card. Dorothea. Even though I would play that many of them, it doesn't exactly win you the game immediately. So 3.5 out of 5. Cool. Dorothea, Vengeful Victim. Hey. The LaCroix of St. Traft. So, for a white and a blue, you get a 4/4 flyer. Oh, how far we've come since the early days. When Dorothea, Vengeful Victim, attacks or blocks, sacrifice it at the end of combat. So it's gonna die. It hangs around for a little bit. You did your thing. You become Italian at some point. You go home. You have the pasta fazool. Okay. Sorry, sometimes the Jersey comes out in me. You can disturb it for just 1 more mana than it costs to cast it. And you get Dorothea's Retribution when you enchant a creature, and the enchanted creature starts spitting out 4/4 tokens that, again, sacrifice themselves at the... Oh, hold on, this is actually different. Whenever this creature attacks, you make a 4/4 white spirit token with flying that's tapped and attacking, and you sacrifice it at the end. So, again, Saint Draft, right? This effect is insane. This effect is amazing. This should not be ignored by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. Sure, this side kind of sort of kills itself. Your opponent might be able to ignore it for a little while. But the other side means, like, your opponent has to remove it, or you will just win the game immediately. There is almost no chance that they can leave this on the board for more than, like, 2 or 3 turns. So, yeah, absolutely 5 out of 5. And I was lucky enough in my pack opening to open 4 of these things in Arena, which is unusual. You don't usually get 4 of the same rare. I guess I can't open any more now, so hey. But yeah, I cracked open a playset out of 63 packs it was, so guess who's playing this card now? And I do believe that this Spirit Disturb thing could be a decent deck. Maybe not top tier, but I think this card, even outside of that deck, will see some play. So I will give it a 3.5 out of 5 in Standard, and a 5 out of 5 in Limited. Edgar! Here's the groom himself. And they say he's charmed, but he doesn't seem to be all that much. Maybe he just has resting, uncharmed face. Yeah, he just woke up, you know. He's been asleep for a while. He did a lot of work. He is like the progenitor of all vampires. So, you know, he's done a lot. The least you could do is show him some respect and get off his lawn. Anyway. 2, a white, and a black is the mana cost. For, of course, this legendary vampire noble. I mean, what other type could you give it? A 4/4 as well. Other vampires you control get +1/+1. So, a noble and a lord. When he dies, return him to the battlefield transformed. And he returns as his coffin. Edgar Markov's coffin, a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you make a 1/1 black and white vampire creature token with lifelink and put a bloodline counter on Edgar Markov's coffin. Then, if there are 3 or more bloodline counters on it, remove the counters and transform it back into Edgar. That's right, he's a vampire, he can't die. Hell yeah. You can exile him. And then he's gone, but he's not dead. He's exiled. So, hell of a card. This is, again, in Limited. I'll give it a 5 out of 5. There is some exile in the set. Watch out for it. It could happen. It probably will happen. This is the thing that you don't want to get exiled, of course. But listen, you play this, you go nuts. If he dies at some point, you start spitting out 1/1s, you flip it over. If any of them survive, they're 2/2s now, and you have a 4/4 again. You can even sacrifice him if you need to exploit something else, and then get him back later on. Like, he's a hell of a battery, and also he kind of punches pretty decently too. And he's just he only costs 4 mana. Like, that's why it's so good. The cost is insane. Will this see play in Standard? Probably. 5 out of 5 Limited. I'll give it 4 out of 5 Standard. Yeah. I think this is going places. Eruth. Eruth. You know, you've heard of the E-girl thing before? This is specifically Eruth. You know, this is very, very narrow. This is one of them, and maybe the E stands for ectoplasmic? I don't know, because it doesn't look too pleasing. Okay, so 3 mana, one of which has to be red, and the other one has to be blue. The third, we really couldn't care less. See, you hear how I said couldn't care less? That's how we're supposed to say it. Sorry, I'm proud of myself. Okay. 3 mana, 2/4. Legendary Human Wizard. If you would draw a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library instead. You may play those cards this turn. This is the thing. So obviously it triggers off your draw step and any other card draw effects that you have. This is not saying if you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. The way I see this being played, and I'll say that in Limited, this is pretty legit. Like, this is just good. This is like 3.5 out of 5, maybe even 4 out of 5. It's fine as a creature, and you just get more value. Be careful, you might deck yourself out. Just be careful. Your opponent can probably wait things out. I mean, hopefully you have some big threats in your deck. This isn't like the one thing you're counting on, but be very careful. If you draw a card and you hit 2 lands off the exile trigger, you play one of them, the other one's gone. The other one has to go unless you somehow have some way to Growth Spiral Explorer in this set, which I don't believe exists. Yeah. If you hit 2 things that are too big for you to cast that turn, one of them has to go. And they're being exiled, they're not being put into your graveyard, they're not coming back. So there's a concern there. In Limited, that's why I'm giving like a 3 out of 5. I'll give it 3.5. You can play with your mana curve a little bit, you can make it work probably. In Standard, the only place, and this isn't relevant to Standard actually, that I see this really going places is in something where you basically want to draw your entire deck. When you double up on all your draw things for some sort of a self-mill that's essentially, Thassa's Oracle, Lab Maniac, Jace, Lab Maniac, passive a thing. I forget exactly what his name is, but there's so many Jaces. I think he was the War of the Spark Jace, though. Like, that's the kind of deck I see this really doing things in. Otherwise, I guess you can try to go through a bunch of cards to find, like, your one thing, find a few key pieces and make it happen. And if your key cards aren't too expensive, then go nuts. But otherwise, I love Izzet. It's my favorite 2-color combination, and this... It fits in there, but it's not fitting in the decks I'm making, so... 2 out of 5 Standard. Not too high on this card. Grolnok, the Omnivore. Oh, look at this guy. I always love him. Got a little hand sticking out there. Well, hi. I think he's waving at me with a hand sticking out of his mouth. So, mouth. You want paper or plastic? Mouth. 4 mana, 3/3, legendary frog. Oh, yes, you are. Whenever a frog you control attacks, mill 3 cards. That's right, it's Frog Tribal, everybody. Jokes aside, though, Standard, we've got Shapeshifters. We got Masked Vandal, and we got the Bears of Yara, and whatever other, and we have Faceless Haven. So there are ways, Maskwood Nexus, to have frogs attack, to trigger that ability off of not just this card. Whenever a permanent card is put into your graveyard from your library, exile it with a croak counter on it. They're really hamming it up for this thing, aren't they? Oh boy, I wonder if humans taste like ham. Probably not, that's a pork thing. Anyway, you may play land cards and cast spells from among cards you own in exile with croak counters on them. You can only do that while this card is on the board with this effect on it, right? So if you exile a few things, you attack, you mill 3 cards, and then your opponent kills this thing, those cards are stuck in exile. Luckily, or the cards with the croak counters on them, the permanents, are stuck in exile. Now, luckily, if you have multiples of this, which you should if you're even bothering to play this card in a deck, in Standard, then you play the second one or the third one. As long as you have one of them on the board at some point, then you can play the other cards. The ability turns back on, because the counters stay on the exiled cards. Alright, so let's see now. Standard, it's funny. I don't think it's worth much, but it's kind of funny, and it could be a meme deck to do some kind of frog tribal. Oh, you can kind of see inside the frog, and there's like the rest of the body in there. I just thought that was like weird skin tone things or like shading. No, that's like some amount of transparency, translucency, lack of opacity. Okay. That's cool. In Limited, 4 mana 3/3 with some upside if it survives an attack. That's super sketchy. And blue and green doesn't really seem like it's going to be a great limited thing to draft, honestly. I think it's going to be like green and red, blue and black, and you could probably get away with some monocolors as well, of course. Do we do anything with white? Yeah, white and black is another thing. And white and blue for spirits. But, let's see, not white and green because there's not enough life gain there, but white and red has a few cards, but I don't think they're fantastic. So yeah, I think those are largely like the 2-color combinations you're going for in Limited. As far as 3 colors go, I don't know, knock yourself out. But I don't like blue and green in this Limited thing at all. So 1.5 out of 5 for a 4 mana 3/3. And in Standard, it's gonna be a no from me, dog. Helana and Alina, partners. And they were roommates. No. A 4 mana, 2/3, with a green and red mana symbol in their cost, with first strike and reach. So 4 mana, 2/3, okay. But at the beginning of combat on your turn, also they're human rangers. Put X plus +1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is Helana and Alina's power. That creature gains haste until end of turn. So there's that werewolf that I don't know, Storm Chaser thing. That, the 3 mana red thing, and it comes down, or is it 4 mana maybe? And it can give something haste, it can give itself haste even. And then flips over, and it's a super obnoxious card, very, very high power level, super aggressive. This reminds me of that. It cannot target itself, because that would be a crazy good feedback loop and just insane. But having first strike and reach is nice because there's a bow. Keep in mind, whenever there's a bow in the artwork, the creature almost always has reach, except for a lot of them that should have reach. Whenever there's a bow in the artwork, the creature should have reach. I have to say that. They don't all have it, but they should. Wizards, come on. Stop giving creatures without reach bows. There's that one from Theros that didn't get the reach, and I was like, why? Is it Nylea? I think it's Nylea. I don't know. But it still haunts me to this day. Anywho. Wonderful target for buffs, of course, because if you can make them stronger, then it makes the other creature stronger, and it adds +1/+1 counters. It's not just a buff for the turn, which is fantastic. It is a huge thing. Not only does it have synergy with other cards that like the counters to be on there, but it's just a lasting effect. It's just, amazing. Easily something that, let's see. It doesn't just have to be something that came into play either. It's just that it gains more ability from, more value from haste if it just enters the battlefield. Oh boy. Yeah, this is definitely a card. 4.5, if not 5 out of 5. Gruul, way to go. Standard, I would not be surprised to see this there. 4 out of 5 standard. Only because it doesn't have haste itself and it can't give itself haste. But, damn. Damn, that's a card. Kaeya, Geist Hunter. Kaeya, again, you're in Ravnica. And you're in War of the Spark, of course. And then you were in, Kaldheim. I usually say Valheim by accident. No, the other one, Kaldheim, right? And now you're here. Kaeya, you just... I would say take a vacation, but I feel like you'd end up wherever the hell that is, and that'd be the next set. So that'd be the next place we go to. Kaeya's Vacation Land. No! Alright. 3 mana Planeswalker with 3 loyalty. Kaeya. +1. Creatures you control gain Death Touch until end of turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature token you control. Why does it have to be a creature token? Would it really have been so bad to just be 1 target creature? Why does it have to be a token? And giving everything Death Touch, it's okay. It's not bad. It's not great. -2 until end of turn if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control. Twice that many tokens are created instead. That's not a bad effect. Usually you see that more in green, but okay. I'm looking at you, Doubling Season. Or whatever, Parallel Lives is another one, I think. So, interesting. You basically, when you do that, you want to just pay 3 mana, -2 immediately, and then still activate the other token creation thing right away. Because having her survive isn't super likely because she doesn't do a whole lot. Okay, I guess. And then -6, exile all cards from all graveyards. Then create a 1/1 white creature, 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying for each card exiled this way. So her ultimate is that she unleashes the spirits, which she's hunting. The flavor could be that you get her to 6 loyalty, you ultimate her, she dies, and the spirits are free. I guess that's what they're going with here. Kaeya, what are you doing? And the thing is, this reminds me of when I was reviewing Theros Beyond Death, and the Elspeth that had, Unleash was in there, and people thought she was insane. She was like, don't undervalue her, because she only had minuses and stuff, and it's like, okay, you gain life, you make a few tokens, what are you doing? It's like, no, she's so good, though. Why? Because you can play her so many times. She just keeps coming back. Yeah, but what she does isn't that good. I'm getting, a feel here with, I know you can play her on turn 3. This Kaeya. I know you can play Kaeya on turn 3. which is nice. It's pretty fast for a Planeswalker. She can go to 4 loyalty, so she probably survives a turn. But a lot of the things she does are just not great. Like, nothing here is super flashy. Nothing here even, like, seems like it's worth much. So Kaeya, and, like, as opposed to Elspeth, where people actually thought she was really good, I believe the majority of people on the interwebs, which is a very bold statement to make on the internet, the majority of people online, and immediately canceled, I think just don't think Kaeya's very strong. And I think they're right. So, yeah, Kaeya, sorry. Like, oh, it's gonna feel so bad if you get this as your planes. I'd like a mythic slot in your thing. Oh my god. Standard, I'm gonna say standard 0 out of 5. Don't try. Don't do it. Token tribal? Really? Creature token tribal, no less. Okay. Yeah, 0 out of 5 in standard. Limited, maybe a 1? You can maybe work the -2 into something and double the blood tokens or double the zombie tokens. Oh. I guess you can work with vampire tokens, because like with the +1 maybe. Because there's a few things that do that. Oh god, disappointment. Disappointing out of 5. Markov Purifier. Maybe your opponent will just attack this by accident because they see a planeswalker and they're like, ooh, that's threatening. No. Alright. 3 mana, 2/3 with lifelink, Vampire Cleric. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. This card's fine. Thank you, I needed something to cleanse my palate after this abomination. Yeah, 3 mana 2. Luckily, it can fuel its own effect. There are plenty of things that, like, life gain matters, but you gotta do it somewhere else. So, this is cool. This works with all those cards. It is in black and white, as you see, and it's not bad at all. It's basically like the other end of Eye of Vecna, where, you know, you pay, instead of paying 2 mana at the beginning of your turn and losing 2 life, you have to gain the life and pay 2 at the end, and then you get a card. So, super okay card. Not fantastic. 2 is certainly a decent amount of mana to put into it, so not an insane card by any means, but also not bad. 3 out of 5 in limited. I mean, worst case, you just, you know, you have the mana there, you attack, odds are even if it dies, you gain life just from the lifelink, you know, from the combat lifelink, and then you pay 2 mana at the end. Do not forget, if you're trying to trigger this thing's effect, to hold on to 2 mana at the end of the turn. Don't be like, I have 2 mana, okay, I'll play this little thing. Oh no, I forgot to hold on to the mana. Do something. Keep a little counter. Literally, just take a little to have a die. Here's it's green, so it's not the best thing to do. But here's a die, right? You can see it's, just put that on your creature and say, "This is my reminder." On the 2 maybe for like 2 mana. Trust me, like it's perfectly legal, and it's gonna save you a few times from forgetting it. Standard 0 out of 5. Okay, no standard 1 out of 5, but still not great. Markov Waltzer. Well, here's your Boros card. So, 4 mana for a 1/3 haste flyer. At the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 2 target creatures you control each get +1/+0 until end of turn. That's okay. But 4 mana for a 1/3 is so much to ask for. Put it as flying, I don't care. But it has haste, I still don't care. This is, I feel like this is almost worse than a bear. Like 1.5 out of 5. 0 out of 5 standard, absolutely 0 out of 5. That's a lot of mana for 1/3. In a deck that wants to be aggressive, obviously, because you're buffing creatures in combat, you're paying 4 mana for 1/3. In limited, 1.5 out of 5. No. If it gave them any other sort of buffs, if it gave them First Strike, maybe. If it gave them Trample, okay. If it gave other things, Haste, but just a little +1/+1. No, +1 was 0. No. Odric was bitten. Odric Bloodcursed. So for 1, a red and a white, you get a 3/3 legendary Odric. He's a vampire now, and he's not better off for it, I'll tell you that much. When he enters the battlefield, create X blood tokens, where X is the number of abilities from among. Flying, First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. Found among creatures you control. In my head, I was trying to say that along to the the Pepto-Bismol little jingle. Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. But it doesn't quite follow the same flow, so my bad. Worth not even noting, but just look at this for a second. Notice how many keywords he has on him. And now start to comprehend he has none of these keywords. His card says flying, first strike, life, all this. He's a 3/3. He makes some blood tokens when he enters the battlefield. And he's a 3/3. That's what he does. I mean, he's a 3/3 still, so I'll give it like a 2.5 out of 5 in limited. But in standard, when you actually are making your own deck out of a much larger pool of cards, I don't think you're going to be part of that. You're not making the cut, my friend. If I was playing Flip It or Rip It, and I ripped this guy, I'd be like, okay, at least I didn't rip that other uncommon in half, you know. Not you. You can be ripped in half as well. But, like, I wouldn't really shed a tear. 0 to 5 standard. The only reason you're okay in limited is because, at least, you know, you passed the vanilla test. And that's about it. Oh, this guy. Oh, I opened up a couple of these guys when I was doing my pack opening, and let me tell you, I like the reference. Alright, I like what he does. I think it's cool. I don't think it's a fantastic mechanic or whatever, but I think it's cool. Here we go. Okay, starting to get a little scratchy, so I had to lubricate the cords, I guess. 3 mana in Golgari for a 1/4 Old Rutstein. Because I'm assuming it's like Frankenstein, so Rutstein, you know? It's not Rutstein. Is it Steen? Maybe it's Steen. I hope it's not Steen. For a peasant, oh, but he's so much more. Whenever Old Rutstein enters the battlefield, or at the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. If a land card is milled this way, make a treasure token. If a creature is milled this way, create a 1/1 insect creature token. 1/1 green insect creature token. If a non-creature non-land card is milled this way, create a blood token. So he's like, here you go, what you got? I got treasures, I got insects, I got blood. Oh, whose blood? Don't ask. Why are you asking so many questions? What do you want? I'm the one that asks the questions. What do you want to buy? So, this just reminds me of Waste Not. I'm just saying it, like, that's just a cool card. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's really neat. Look at that. Not a top tier card by any means where it sees play. It's kind of neat. It's fun. I like the design. This, however, isn't bad because you trigger it basically for free. Like, ETB, it triggers. And on upkeep, it also triggers. And it puts cards in your graveyard where that could be a huge benefit to you if you hit the right cards. Like, nothing wrong with that at all. And I love that if you mill a land, you get the land, basically. Like, it's still kind of there. You don't even really lose anything. You mill a creature, here's a creature. Anything else, you get a blood token, you can try again, you know? Like, super legit card. Super good. No regrets at all. And just for 3 mana, and it's statted to stick around for a little while. You don't really want to attack with this guy, and there's no reason for him to be attacking. So, yeah. This is easily like a 3.5, maybe even 4 out of 5 in limited. Hopefully you have some way to get cards back from the graveyard, but just the random incidental like gains you get from them. Unless you're going to deck yourself out, you're good. This is just upside. In standard, it might be tough to keep this thing around, but if you get a few of them, maybe just use it for like some kind of funny Golgari ramp thing going on. Yeah, I could see it. And he blocks for a little while, so, you know, it might get you to survive that long, and you start milling creatures, and you make creatures. Okay, 3 out of 5 in standard. I think 1 or 2 of these could make his way into a deck, and I'd be okay with that. Olivia, there she is in all her large, flowing dress glory. It's great. Also, I probably can't see it in this small thing, but, her... Is it train or her veil? Sorry. Her veil is actually like red spirits and stuff. It's like super cool if you get to like get an up close look at it. And her alt artwork is actually really nice as well. So nice. So a 6 mana 3/4 legendary vampire noble again. This is the Bride with flying and haste. I want to make a deck that involves 4 of these, and I'm going to tell you why. Because whenever she attacks, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. And it gains when you don't control a legendary vampire, exile this creature. A nice way to kind of get around that last clause is if you revive any legendary shapeshifter, it's always a vampire, and if you revive any legendary vampire, then it just keeps itself alive if Olivia dies. Now, that little, tip aside, I said it before, and I'll say it again, I want to remake Reanimator. With this card, Velomachus Lorehold, Return Upon the Tide, and what was it? The one where Olivia's feeding Edgar the blood. It's a 5 mana. It costs 3 and 2 black to reanimate a card, to reanimate a thing, and it has, if you discard it, you can pay a black and then just add a creature from your graveyard to your hand. So I've described it to you there. I want that. We have 2 reanimator cards in Standard again, plus her, and I think it's fantastic. It is important to know that if she enters the battlefield tapped and attacking by some means, she does not... See, what's a good way to do it? I don't know. Creatures that enter tapped and attacking are not declared as attackers, so if you have any abilities where whenever you attack with this card, do this, like the whole Saint Draft kind of thing that we talked about earlier. What's this? I forget what her name is. Something with an M maybe, but I could be wrong. That will not trigger off of this effect because you need to actually declare them as attackers. So, oh well. Still, I think this card, oh my goodness, easy 5 out of 5. Easiest 5 out of 5 of my life. Both limited and standard. Take all of them, go nuts, and show off to your friends. Runo Stormkirk. This one makes me think a little bit because this is two-sided and you're like, hold on, where'd you come from? This is a Damir 3 mana 1/4 vampire cleric with flying. When Runo Stormkirk enters the battlefield, put up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Okay, sure. I mean, if it's a good thing to do against mill, not against mill, but if you happen to mill something blindly and you want it back, there you go, right back on top. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card. If a creature card with mana value 6 or greater is revealed that way, transform Runo Stormkirk. Could just happen randomly, could happen to his own effect because you put it there yourself. Hey, look at that. How easy is that? So, 3 mana, you play this thing, maybe you put a big thing on top that you milled, maybe it died already and you're putting it back on top of your library. You're getting a big creature card, right? That's what's happening because it's the beginning of upkeep. So after that, you draw a card. It's the big dude. And then after that, he transforms into Krothus, Lord of the Deep. The question is Runo summoning Krothus with this, with his cleric abilities? With it looks like he's doing some sort of ritual potentially, or does he actually become Krothus? And this is weird, crazy vampire, also Kraken. I don't know, but I'm digging the beard. I'm digging the Davy Jones kind of thing, and the claws are huge, and just I like it. And he's right in front of, I'm assuming, the moon. If this is the sun, then we got bigger problems. Also, it flies? Holy shit, hold on. I didn't realize this is a flying Kraken. That's fantastic. Oh my god, I love this card. Whenever Krothus, Lord of the Deep, attacks, but you're flying. How are you Lord of the Deep if you fly? Have it both ways. That's fine, it's great. Create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. If that creature is a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent... Oh, the typing there. I know it. We've seen it a few times. I just love it. Create 2 of those tokens instead. So, I mean, hell yeah. Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, Serpent tribal. I said it with a few other cards. If your target... if you also have a shapeshifter attacking with it, then, of course, it is also all those types. So, you do make 2 tokens, which isn't bad. That's kind of funny if you have this... animate your Faceless Haven, attack, and you make a copy of the Faceless Haven, which, yes, would be a token that is a land. That is not a token that's a land that isn't a, or does it actually stay at 4/3? That's weird. I want to see it happen. It's not that hard to make it happen. Huh. Wow. Silliness abound. Okay, so this is one of those, again, where it enters tapped and attacking, the copy that you make, so it does not get any on-attack triggers. This is super legit. This is a 4 out of 5 unlimited. And in Standard, if you have any reasonable mill going on there, it could even be, also a 4 out of 5. It's probably more so a 3, though. 3 out of 5 says it right there on the card. I love when that works out. And it's just super awesome. Not only the artwork and like the name is cool, the typing, everything here, it's just so nice. And you get like a 3-mana 3/5 flyer, like, which is just fantastic there, yeah. Oh, so good. Such a good card. Oh, way to go. Way to go, Damir. Really knocking it out of the park there. I think Damir's going to be fantastic this set. Sigardian Paladin is a 4-mana 4/4 with Selesnya. As long as you've put one or more +1/+1 counters on a creature this turn, this has Trample and Lifelink. Okay, this is a very strange trigger for the ability to go off, but why not? Worst case, it's still a 4-mana 4/4. You can pay 3 mana. Target creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Gains Trample and Lifelink in the turn. Okay. No way to trigger its own ability, but you can... If you already had some other counters there, then sure. Obviously, this wants to go in a deck that has the training things or some other counters matter going on. And worst case, like I said, it's a 4-mana 4/4. It's alright. It's an uncommon. Nothing wrong with that. So I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5. And if you have a reasonable amount of training, goes up to a 3. In Standard, how often do you want this to have Trample and Lifelink for 4 mana? It's okay. But it doesn't buff itself at all. Like... If it had training, I would see it. I'd say, yes, I got you. Go nuts. But you don't have training. You getting Trample and Lifelink is all right. Maybe, you know what? This goes in the life gain deck, where you gain life. You add a +1/+1 counter. The Pride Mate that isn't actually Pride Mate card. Yeah, this Trelisara. I think it's I don't think it's an S. I think it's Trelisara, the one from Forgotten Realms that's still legal. That's how this triggers. Of course, you want to do that before combat, but easy way to make it work. Okay, I like it. Sure. Standard in that deck, it's a must-have. Or it's a very, very good card to go in the deck, I'll say. So, like, 3 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5 in that deck specifically. Outside of that deck, it's nearly useless. Skull Scab. So, for 2 mana, a blue and a black, you get a 2/2 zombie with exploit. Whenever a creature you control exploits a non-token creature. Okay, so just overall exploit stuff. Create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So that's nice in other exploit things. Triggers off itself, triggers off of any other exploits going on your side of the board, of course. Has to be non-tokens that are exploited. But it makes tokens, which are kind of cool. Is this aggressive enough? Because this is kind of what you're doing. You're looking for an aggro kind of card. You can still, of course, exploit, these zombie tokens if you want to. You just don't replace them with more zombie tokens. But I think if you have them on the board, that's already some pretty good value. In Limited, this is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, replace whatever creature with... Yeah. It's going to be tough to get it down turn 2, and you want to get it down as early as you can to get value off of future exploits. Unless you don't have a whole lot in your deck, then you can play it pretty much whenever. But then you lose value off of the whole 2/2, but it's still okay. Yeah, like in Limited, even though it's only a 2-mana 2/2, like with upside, 3.5 out of 5. In Standard, if you have more of these, you actually make multiple tokens too. Oh, they stack pretty decently. Alright, put it in a deck with all creatures and just, do little things. Yeah. Okay, in Standard, 3 out of 5. In Limited, 3.5 out of 5. Damir, way to go. Keep going. Torin's Fist of the Angels, as opposed to the Foot of the Angels. I'm not here to kink shame. Fetishes are a thing, and you know what? Do your thing, man. Just don't hurt anybody, unless that's also your thing, and make sure it's consensual. Safe words are important. Okay, getting out of that corner of the world. 3 mana, 2/2 legendary human cleric with training. Hey, there's your training. Hello. Whenever you cast a creature spell, make a 1/1 green and white human creature soldier token with training. So, this is not a hard once per turn, which it definitely could have been. I'm glad they didn't do it. I'm going to name a card. And if you know the card, and if you know how it functions in the older formats, in the formats of old, then you'll understand. And formats of old in particular, I'm saying, back in Tarkir block, I guess, as well as vintage. Yeah, vintage. Monastery Mentor. while it is not often the case that your creatures you're playing refill your hand at all, there are a few cards that do that. Although they usually cost 2 and it's kind of expensive to get them out there. This is a 3 mana thing that can get stronger. It kind of wants to attack, doesn't have to though. As you play more creatures and attack with your tokens, they get stronger and you make more tokens. This card is very good. This card is very, very strong. Unfortunately, and I understand why it's in these colors, training is more so in white and green. It might only be in green and white, so it kind of had to be. But unfortunately, I don't think green and white's going to be a very strong deck. I don't think Selesnya is going to be fantastic in this standard format. If it is, then this card's almost certainly going to be the reason why. And I want this card to shine. I'm going to have to give this thing, only because it's a little tougher to, build this strictly creature and have those have those good costs in limited. I'm going to give this a 4.5. No, just 4 out of 5, sorry. I just flubbed there. 4 out of 5 in limited. And I'm giving this a 5 out of 5 in standard. I think this card is so powerful. However, it's just taken back by the fact that it has green on the top. If it was just white, oh my god, done. It's over. That's it. Mono white, aggro, for the next foreseeable future until more sets come out and cycle things out of here. Yeah, that'd be it. Goodbye all the other decks. It's tier 0, but that green kind of sticks it. You might actually see a deck that is mono white splash green. Try to get this out on turn 3. Try to get this out as soon as you can. Or hell, have some kind of weird mono white, but you make a treasure token on like turn 1 or 2 and then play it that way. This card is no joke. Just hey. If I'm wrong, I'm prepared to be wrong here, but I'm going out on a limb for this guy. And I don't think that limb is all that unstable, if you know what I mean. So, Vile Spawn Spider. Back into Simic. I do love spiders, and this isn't really a bad one. I don't think Simic's great either right now, but if it is, then this could certainly be a card that helps to get there. Not nearly as strong as this guy, but still. That Angels have a hell of a fist, So, for 2 mana, you get a 2/3 spider with reach. At the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. Cool. Not bad. Relevant effect in this set. I like it. And for 2, a green and a blue, you can tap sack it and make a 1/1 green insect creature token for each creature card in your graveyard. Activate only as a sorcery. So if you just straight up have a 2 mana 2/3 reach, there are a decent number of flyers in the deck, in this set. Both vampires and spirits and stuff, they fly. And there's even a few birds here and there. Like, that's a relevant keyword to have. Do not disregard reach as like, oh, well, it's reach, I guess that's kind of useless. No, like, that's a real word. The mill is okay. You usually want to have more so like some black cards to do stuff with that in the graveyard. So maybe you're doing some sort of a Sultai thing. Sultai could be a deck type that you play in limited. Could even do it in standard, hell. And you get some bonus effect off the last ability. Sorry, I'm gonna lose my words here. I'm getting tired. When this video is done, I am going to sleep. I don't know what this is. This is me pouring a glass of water on my head as I go to bed, I guess. It's not really a good way to go to sleep. But anyway. Actually, after this, I'm taking a shower, then I'm going to sleep. Ugh. Because it's just the water and stuff. Okay. So, when this card loses its use, you can make a bunch of little dudes. They can't block flyers anymore, but they can go up the ground if you need to. Super reasonable card. 3 out of 5 in limited. Standard, I'll give it a 2 out of 5. Yeah, maybe. Part of that's just because I love spiders, but hey, why not? Wandering Mind. I said it before, I'll say it again. This color, and I said it in the pack opening. If you've ever played Star Fox 64, spoilers abound, but if you have and you don't want spoilers, then cover your ears for the next, 5 seconds. Just reminds you of the brain at the end. If you, fully, destroy all the stuff and go around the way. Okay, cool. So, a 3-mana 2/1 flyer. Flying Brain. Whenever it enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. That's a lot of cards. You may reveal a non-creature non-land card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. What are cards that are non-creature, non-land? Obviously, Hands and a Sorcery. Those are probably the premier ones you're going to find in, these colors. But there's also Planeswalkers, there's enchantments, and there's artifacts. That's a hell of a lot of cards. A hell of a lot of types you can hit by looking at the top 6 cards. This is not bad. In Limited, you almost certainly hit something that you want to get. Like, this is kind of cool. Maybe you play this, and then you find an enchantment that on a later turn, or maybe the same turn if you have the mana, you want to play on this thing. If it's a creature that can find enchantments, great. Artifacts, awesome. Whatever the hell it is, it looks good. And the other cards do not go in your graveyard, because that 5 cards going in the graveyard could be okay, but could also be a lot. Yeah. Super good in Limited. Like 3.5 out of 5. Just for the ability to go through the top 6 and find something. Just being able to look that deep and find an answer, you're good. In Standard, 3 mana is a lot to put into something that, even though it gets you an answer, doesn't really affect the board very much. So, maybe in a deck where it's mostly flyers and the flying is relevant, it could be a thing. But otherwise, it's going to be like a 1.5 for me. I like it. I want to have it see some play, but I don't quite think it's strong enough to really get there. I think it needs a little more in the stats. Or if it was a 2-mana 2/1, easy include. Definitely. Just cost a blue and a red, yeah, not a problem. But that extra mana really makes me want to hold out on it. Alright. Ooh, we're into the artifacts now. There we go. That is it for the multicolored cards. Alright, nice. They did a lot of... I don't think they had any 3-color cards. 3 or more. I think they were all 2 colors. Which is like what they're doing for this for whatever reason. They did it, and you know what? That's cool. It makes some things a lot easier and some things more difficult. No, for the most part, it makes it a lot easier to know like what you're drafting and stuff. Okay. On to the artifacts now. First up is Blood Servitor. Servitor? Sure. 3 mana 2/2 construct. When it enters the battlefield, you make a blood token. 3 mana 2/2, make a blood token. Okay. Just kind of playing as common. I understand why it's common. Yeah. It's like I'll give it a 2 out of 5, you know what? Even though a 3 mana 2/2 with like a blood token isn't necessarily great, I think it's still okay. Because, maybe you can find a good card later on. Yeah, 2 out of 5 there. Standard, useless. I did not mute my phone. Okay. Boarded Window is a 3 mana artifact. Creatures attacking you get -1/-0. That is a very relevant effect. If you've ever played Redain for the Shield, which I believe is called Volkmira. Yes, I don't remember the rest of the title of the card after that, but Volkmira, then that has saved my ass a couple times, and it's just so nice to play that against aggro. And then guess what? Like, I've had that down back with like Winota Blade Artisan? Is that what it is? I forget exactly what the dwarf is. The hybrid mana one that all your attacking creatures get double strike. So, and that's just like, it's funny because it reduces their power, and they're double strike, so they actually do like 2 less damage, and it's just great. Honestly, it's saved me my ass so many times and actually win the games. However, at the beginning of each end step, if you were dealt 4 or more damage this turn, exile Boarded Window. So it does have a self-destruction clause there, where eventually the boards wear out, but this will absolutely buy you time. Not only does it save your, pad your life total a little bit, it completely negates, like, things with 1 power. They just don't do damage anymore. And it also saves your creatures quite often. Like, imagine if all your creatures just had 1 extra health. That's what it does. But also helps your life. Like, it's a fantastic card. Honestly, I would play this. I would play 1 or 2 of these in almost any, like, limited deck I get. So, like, 3.5 out of 5. Don't underestimate it. In Standard, however, we still have Redain / Volkmira. So this gets outclassed by a mile, but it's colorless, yeah, but I'm not playing this in Control. I don't think I am. I'll give it a 1 out of 5. Maybe it sees like 1 spot. I could see it in a sideboard against a deck that has like a bunch of little dudes, but if it didn't kill itself, sure, I would actually say it's okay, but it does eventually, destroy itself, so, oh well. Ceremonial Knife. Just costs a mere 1 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has, whenever this creature deals combat damage, create a blood token. And the equip cost is 2. Even though it costs 1, the equip is 2, does not enter the battle, does not equip itself on ETB. Like, the powerful artifacts do, part of them do, namely Maul of the Skyclaves, so, and, you know, Embercleave from the past. So, you know, it takes a lot away from it. It's okay, like, the buff is small, and the payoff for actually getting through is, it's a little bit, it's almost like draw a card, but it's not. 1 out of 5 in limited, 0 out of 5 in standard. It's really lackluster, which is unfortunate because I actually really like the design of the knife. It's kind of like organic and like kind of viney and veiny almost, and like I like it. But it's a butter knife. What are you gonna do? Dollhouse of Horrors. There's an eyeball back there. I didn't notice it the first 5 times I looked at the card, but the 6th time it got me. So, 5-mana artifact. Pay 1 and tap this card. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of the exiled card, except it's a 0/0 construct artifact in addition to its other types, and has this creature gets +1/+1 for each construct you control. It gains haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. I apologize for the pacing of my reading of this card. If it threw anyone off or made them upset, I understand, and again, my apologies. So, you pay 1, you exile something, you make a construct, and they are just going to feed off of each other, which is kind of a terrifying idea, how this is the dollhouse. Like, here's a doll, okay, I made a little copy of something. Here's another doll, and this doll, and then there's a few, and then eventually there's enough where they can just overwhelm you, and the dolls, like, take over. Yeah. Let's see. Also, for shapeshifters, I've said it I mentioned them a few times, construct is a creature type. Therefore, your shapeshifters are constructs. They buffed the little dudes here. And there are plenty of creatures that just have good effects on the board. Important to say that tokens cannot flip over because they don't have another side to them. So if you make a token of like a werewolf, you're only gonna have the front side. They can't do the whole Nightbound thing. Beyond that though, there are plenty of cards, like hell, I can put this in the thing, make Olivia attack, get her trigger to go off, reanimate Edgar even though he shouldn't be dead in the first place. I don't know, something along those lines. And if I have reanimate some big shapeshifter or something, and then there's also a construct while being a legendary vampire, I don't know. But there is certainly value to be had with this. And also the constructs just keep getting stronger, and you only have to exile 1 creature. Like, it's super cheap to activate once you get on the board. Yeah, in limited, this is like a 4 out of 5. And it's not even close. In standard, this is probably going to be a 3.5 out of 5. I think it might be a little overhyped, which is strange. A lot of people hype this card up as an underhyped card, which cancels it out, so it's just like a card, and I think it should just be a card. It's a good card. I don't think it's a great card. So there you go. Moving on from that, Foreboding Statue. Well, looks kind of like a scarab if you ask me, but that is just the head. 3 mana, 1/2. Construct. There you go. Yeah. Artifact creature construct. You can tap, add 1 mana of any color, put an omen counter on Foreboding Statue. At the beginning of your end step, if there are 3 or more omen counters on Foreboding Statue, untap it, then transform it, and it transforms into. There's the rest of it. Forsaken Thresher. Looks like you're threshing the sand, which I don't believe needs threshing. But, you know, I mean, you do you. You know, hey, you look like you're having the time of your life. Turns into a 5/5 at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add 1 mana of any color. So it doesn't entirely take away from the kind of mana dorkiness of this thing. I also think it's funny that the head can just, like, kind of sort of attack, you know? It's like, there's something to me. Maybe I'm a little sharp. They didn't round off all the edges. And now I'm just going crazy. Oh my god, it's so good to get out of the dirt. Woo! Helicopter everything, and not just the penis. So, it's a fun card, for sure. 3 mana for a 1/2, like, mana rock, mana dork kind of thing is a little much to ask. But eventually, after a few turns, it becomes a 5/5. That's not bad. So, in limited, 3 out of 3. Wow, 100%? No. Limited 3 out of 5. It's pretty legit, pretty solid there. Maybe even 3.5 out of 5. I could be undervaluing it. In standard, though, playing a 3 mana 1/2 and then 3 turns later, having a 5/5, not where you want to be. Honored Heirloom. Oh, that's like a Rainbow Avacyn's collar. Interesting. Okay. So, for 3 mana, you get a mana rock. You can tap, add 1 mana, make color, or pay 2 and tap this, exile target card from a graveyard. Just a nice card to have in limited if your opponent's doing any kind of disturb or, you know, revival, reanimation, whatever stuff. Helps cut down on the nonsense. And you can do that at instant speed. This is not something that's been toned down to only when you can activate a sorcery. So, yeah, very good card to just have one of in your deck just in case. And mana of any color means it can also help you mana fix. So, this is going to be like a 2 out of 5. Maybe a 2.5 out of 5, depending on, you know, you could sideboard it out if your opponent isn't doing any sort of graveyard shenanigans. In limited. In standard, it's not worth it at all, but because there's other better cards you can do that interact with the graveyard. But still, pretty good card. Investigator's Journal is a 2-mana artifact clue. Oh, this is a clue type because it has the last line where you can sack it to draw a card. Okay, gotcha. Enters the battlefield with a number of suspect counters on it equal to the greatest number of creatures a player controls. So, everyone is suspect. Okay. So, for 2, when tapping this card, you can remove a suspect counter from the journal and draw a card. Or you can just pay 2 and sacrifice it to draw a card. Presumably, you do that when there's no suspects left. But you can, if you really need that card, you can pay 2, tap, draw a card, and then just sacrifice it. You don't have to tap to sacrifice it. And, you know, you can pay 4 mana, draw 2 cards, basically. This is nice. This is not bad at all. And its number of creatures a player controls. Okay. So it's always going to be the bigger number, whatever, and it can work if you play a bunch of creatures. Excuse me there, sorry. Okay. Nice design. I see where you're going. And the more creatures there are, the more cards you get to draw. Does not have the life gain that Maze Mind Tome did, so it doesn't really save you at the end of the day, but maybe just going through those cards is going to be enough. So I will say probably like a, and at least gets you to draw a card on its own. Yeah, I'll say 3 out of 5 in limited, and maybe 2.5 out of 5 in standard. Not Maze Mind Tome level, but still a solid card. Lantern of the Lost. This is your exile card. You can pay 1 to play the card. Enters the battlefield, exile target card from a graveyard. You can also pay 1 and tap and exile this card. To exile all cards from all graveyards, then draw a card. There are rumors that this may replace Relic of Progenitus because, as opposed to having the option to sack it and draw a card, or sack it and exile the graveyards, this one lets you do both for 1 mana and tap and exile it. So that's just the best of both worlds there. I think it will very likely replace Relic in wherever decks where you see Relic. And it's just a really all-around solid card. Perfect sideboard card. I don't know that I would run this in the main board because it does exile your own graveyard, so unless you have 0 graveyard synergies, I wouldn't mainboard it. And in standard, I wouldn't mainboard it either way. I would definitely just relegate this to the sideboard, but this pretty much goes in every single sideboard unless you need your graveyard to work. So yeah, absolutely. Just for the playability aspect, like, it's a 5 out of 5 because it's going to see play guaranteed, but what it's going to do, it does it super well, but it doesn't feel like it's super impactful exactly. Like it just kind of feels meh. Like, okay, I'm drawing a card, exiling things, but it's actually an amazing effect. So yeah, 5 out of 5 there. But limited, I would probably make it more so like a 3 out of 5. And if you're running a whole lot of graveyard stuff, you can just play it for the 1 and try to target a card. If your opponent's not doing a whole lot, you can take it out. It's not bad to cut it, but it's still a very good card. Wedding Invitation, that's the thing we all got, right? Right? Not just me? Cool, okay. Actually, it's kind of funny, I'm reviewing this now, and I'm actually going to a wedding, like next month. In about a month, yeah, so that's kind of cool. Someone in the family's getting married, and I'm very proud, and I'm happy for them. We're going to go celebrate and probably get wasted. You know how it does. So, 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. You can tap sack it. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. If it's a vampire, it also gains lifelink until end of turn. RSVP at your own risk. Nice. I did that. I didn't forget to RSVP. It was like 2 days later than they wanted, but it's still, I got it in there. It's family. You can't say no to the family, right? So, yeah, it's pretty good. I don't think, unless you have like a gimmick where you want this one creature to get through, then I wouldn't really bother with this in Standard. But in Limited, it replaces itself, and you let something through when you get some damage, like almost guaranteed. Yeah. And if it's a vampire, even more value. Cool. I like it. Solid card. 3.5 out of 5. Just run the damn card. Oh, and that's it for the colorless, like, artifacts and stuff. We are on to the lands. We are nearly done the home stretch. This whole video was the home stretch, and now this is the home stretch of the home stretch. This is like when they say in football, like, you know, oh, it's first and goal, whatever. Now it's like first, not first and goal. It would always be first and goal. But, like, instead of, like, first and 1, first and 2, whatever, it's first and inches. You know, when they half the distance to the first yard line, you know, to the first down line. God damn. Yeah, I'm good with sports. So, Evolving Wilds, we've seen it many times. I'm just a little confused why they decided to reprint this thing instead of Terramorphic Expanse, but hey, not a problem. It's your standard thing. No real need to go over it. It's just still in Standard. You can certainly play this in Limited. Don't feel too bad. Standard, no, but Limited, yeah, it's fine to do if you need some mana fixing. And let's see, they've completed the cycle for the slow lands, so that's awesome. We have our Golgari, our Simic, the Orzhov, the Izzet, and the Boros, right? Yeah. This is actually the card we have in the back. This is the unique rare land we have for the set. So any of these, cool, pick them up. They're probably going to be worth something. They're a little slower, so it's probably going to be a little more value in the slower colors. Like Golgari can be a little more of a grindy deck. Orzhov, as well as, well, Orzhov can go slower because it's kind of more control-y. Izzet? Maybe not. Izzet likes to go fast, as well as Boros. So, you know, that might be where the value lies. Okay, Voldaren Estate is a land, not legendary, just a land. You can tap to add colorless, and you can tap and pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a vampire spell. So you gotta pay life for the vampire, but you can play different colored vampires. Okay, that's something. You can pay 5 and tap this to make a blood token. However, it costs 1 less to activate for each vampire you control. The more vampires you have, the more likely you got some blood laying around. You know, it's easy to be, hey, you got some blood? Yeah, pass it over here. So, potentially, you have 5 more vampires, you just tap this and make blood tokens. Which is not to be dismissed. Like, hey, being able to discard and draw for 1 mana here and there and just do that, make a few of them, yeah, that's not bad. I don't like that you have to pay life to make a vampire, like to make mana for the vampires, but okay. It's just okay. It's not amazing. I don't know that I would necessarily play too much of this in Limited, especially because it just makes colorless mana unless you're playing vampires. So be very careful with this. I would not play a waste. Not play any wastes in my Limited deck, that's for damn sure, and if you're not playing vampires, this is very close to it. But yeah, it's okay. It's alright. Maybe 1 in your deck, just for the hell of it. And I'd call it like a 2 out of 5 in Limited. It's alright. It's alright, but you know, you might want to cut it. Standard, obviously you want to play a few of these in vampire deck, but maybe not too many, because yeah, that life that paying 1 life for each time you do it might add up. But yeah, I'd see like maybe 2 or 3. Absolutely not 4. Unless like the blood tokens are actually insane. I don't think they are. Probably 2 is a good number. And for that, 2 out of 5 in Standard as well. Alright, also I guess I included these. So here are the other basic lands. They did a whole black and white classic, like storybook horror scene, which is kind of nice. I actually don't really like the black and white lands because everything ends up looking like a swamp or a plains to me. But hey. Oh, that's it? We got all of them? We did it! We got there! Oh my god! We're done! Oh, I've recorded hours across 2 different days. And if you've been watching this, you've been watching for hours, and thank you so much for your support, honestly. It really means a lot. I do want to put more gameplay videos up that hopefully won't be too long, or maybe they will be, but it's going to be a little more engaging than just I'm talking to a screen and looking at cards. Instead, I'm going to be moving the cards around. Right? Interactivity. But yeah, so for that, feel free if you don't mind. If you kind of like what you saw, or like, I don't know, listening to me talk, if I'm not too raspy or too offensive, then feel free to check out the Twitch. Join me when I'm watching. Drop a follow would be amazing. A sub is okay. I don't want to ask for subs though. Follows are just, that's the most I can ask of you, and that's fine. If you want to sub to the channel, that's cool. Whatever you do, I hope you have a great day. Good night or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. But as always, good luck.